Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Ing, and this is our Wednesday Praise You on week 3, which is kind of crazy because I never expected this to go very far. I'm really grateful for all of you for joining in. Hey, Connie. What's up, Andy? So today we are going to welcome one of my dearest, oldest friends, Marguerite Wade. And some of you may know her and just like hit her up with all the hearts because she's the best. And I'm so excited to have a dialogue with her because I've known her for so long. But to be honest, we've never talked exclusively about our jobs before. So this will be a really fulfilling moment for me to learn more about her and her work. Hey, Jeanette. Hi, Issa. And for us to learn a little bit about this industry, which is production design, set design, prop styling. She knows all of that. And I just think of that as an industry that's adjacent to everything creative. So let's get on with it, right? Okay, Marguerite, let's do this. Hi, Issa. And if I don't know you, please tell me where you're streaming from. I would love to know. What's up?
What's up? It took me a second to figure this out. Hi, Ruth.
You did it, Vita. You did it. This is her first Instagram live. She had never even posted a story before today.
Once I posted a story. So this is all very exciting.
So exciting. Here's my cup of tea to you. Here's my cup of tea. What you drinking?
I'm drinking lemon water every day.
This is my other drink.
Good.
I was drinking this ice cold thing, and then I needed a nice warm cup of milk and honey tea.
Oh, good.
I just made that for myself. What's up, Mac and Sarah? So everyone, welcome Marguerite.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. You might hear me refer to her as Rita, and that is because she is my Rita, and I am her Ru.
Yes. Since we were, 16? This has been our nickname?
Well, yeah. So, Marg, sometimes you see people from across the room, and you're like, I want to be friends with that person. Yeah. That's kind of how it happened with me and Marg, except it was the 8th grade junior high dance in our town.
Dance.
And she danced up to me. I think you ran up to me, and I was like, "Hey, what's up?" And you're like, "Your boyfriend Craig is cute," and I was like, "No, but you're cute. Let's be friends." And then we were friends.
Yes. So it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. We still look the same.
We do. We actually look pretty good. So.
So Marg has been working as a prop stylist, set designer, all of those interesting things that I really wanted to explore and have you tell the community about. Because most people who've been watching are in the fine visual arts. We've had some performing arts people, and you actually know all of these industries because you, like I said, you're adjacent to all of that. So tell us about your work a little bit.
Okay, so I have a set and production design company. It primarily, I work in fashion, advertising, editorial. And I started out a long time ago, actually. I sort of fell into it because I had sort of had an art background. I knew a little bit about photography. And I started this sort of strange industry that was sort of doing creative sets for photographs. Primarily it was just photographs back in the day. Now it's video and film and all that. And so I started actually back in the day working with this woman by the name of Mary Howard, who was working with all the big photographers at the time. Annie Leibovitz, Stephen Meisel, Stephen Klein. And just through that, I started working directly with Annie Leibovitz. And that's sort of how my business began. So she couldn't do everything. So I would start to go on set for this woman, which is very scary and exciting. And it's sort of this, it's an interesting sort of, I feel like New York centric, or it was a New York centric job, it was sort of creating the mood and environment of whatever the photograph is to be. So it would be a lot of back in the day, a lot of Vanity Fair. You see these covers, these elaborate covers. And this is, the collaboration of a ton of different people working on it, from the photographers and the lighting, set design, wardrobe, hair and makeup. Yeah. So it's sort of a collaborative effort. And so over the years, I've just kind of continued to do that. It's a little bit more commercial now. my end, and as well as doing sort of events and things like that. But it's kind of it can be a really cool, creative job. It can also kind of be tedious, like, all things. But yeah, so that's sort of the...
Yeah. And I feel like with this industry, I've seen you grow in it, but I've also seen this industry grow as well. More and more people became prop stylists. I know that's not necessarily what you call yourself, but like, I would see a lot of young people coming out of college with art degrees, and then, I actually had some interns, and then they went into styling, which for me was like, I was like, I think I know what that means, but it can mean so many different things depending on whether it's fashion and or design or interiors, all of those things, right? At this point now, people, like the photographers, hire stylists and set designers to make it happen. Would you say that when you first started, it was... how much has that industry grown? And then I want to go into COVID and what you've seen since then, if there's a contraction of that.
Yeah, so the industry has grown tremendously. At least it seems to me there was a lot more photographers and a lot more people making that kind of work. So there's a lot of room for people coming right out of school. I get a lot of intern requests because it's sort of being able to sort of apply this creative thing to actually making some money. This is sort of it's a business. Once you start doing commercial work, think of like doing 1 million presents for Target. It's kind of like a layman's, example. But so it's kind of a nice way for people to come out of school and kind of, use their creative juices. I think that there's a lot more photographers out there. There's a lot more.
Well, and then this exploded. Did this explode with Instagram?
I think so. I think you have what's interesting for our generation, you can probably chime in a little bit, is sort of this immediacy of like, there's no more, like back in the day, it was like assisting. Like you find the person the thing you want to do, you find the best person in that industry, you assist them, you sort of work your way up. And now I feel like there's this, I can kind of do it. I'm going to put it out there. And if enough people like it and see it, it's going to do well and I'm going to do well. And I kind of cut to the chase. Like, I don't know if one is better than the other, but it's definitely changed the whole game. So
like in the past, it was more of an apprenticeship, and now you can put yourself out there online and people can, hey, Nico.
There's a lot more young photographers and a lot more young people creating work. I find it inspiring when I'm not like, but it's like, so it's changed. Right now for COVID, it's like completely just shut down my industry. You have people.
So let's talk about that. Yeah. I just want to like take a step back for a second. And I know you went through this, but Marg's work has incorporated both editorial and commercial. So you've done, you've had your work appear in Vogue and Vanity Fair and GQ, but also in like Marc Jacobs campaigns, right? And Smart Water campaigns. So you've done both sides. And now with the pandemic, are campaigns still ongoing? Are you still working on things that were lined up 3 months ago? So that's happening. But, 6 months from now, no one knows what it's going to look like.
No, I feel like my industry kind of came to a screeching halt. I think that, I was talking to my friend who does PR yesterday, and she says she's sort of busy kind of continuing to do projects that are coming in the future. But in terms of photo shoots and sort of planning that, it just seems like everything is at a complete standstill. And I have friends who are on the other side, the people who hire us, and they're scrambling as well too. How do we move forward once this, starts to move forward? So it's sort of, that's been kind of, frustrating. My line of business, I'm used to things kind of being like, it's sort of feast or famine. You're slammed or it's like crickets. So I am sort of used to the ebb and flow of this. This is a little bit different, obviously, because it's just a complete and total shutdown. So I'm eager for this to, hopefully we can get going again. I think I'll have sort of a renewed sense of like, okay, let's go. I kind of miss being in a studio and collaborating, which is kind of a good feeling to miss it. But also,
how does it move? Go ahead. Yeah, no, sorry. But I'm just wondering how it moves forward, right? Because people are not advertising, or not people, companies are not, brands are not advertising in in magazines nearly as much. And,
Right.
and that's both your editorial work and a little bit your commercial work. And then, there's a lot of content that people need online, but
Right.
whether that content is something people will pay, extra bodies for, that's also different. And also
Right.
your work is physical. Like you have to physically be on set to create that. Or are there alternatives now? Like, are there ways that people are going around the social distancing requirements?
I mean, I think people are trying to get creative. I know some stylists are sending clothes to models or to people to shoot themselves in their own environments. So that's one way people are kind of addressing that, getting their items, seen. I don't know how this is going to change things. I mean, I wonder if starting out will be much smaller crews of people, and that maybe the ideas will get smaller. We'll have to get a little more creative about how you want to showcase something. I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to go away. I mean, I think we'll everyone kind of jump back in and hopefully, we can get back to the way things were. I think there will be some, this changes just inevitably. And also, I don't even know when this is going to happen. I mean, my last job, it was very awkward. This had just started and there were like, I think 12 people and it was all very uncomfortable. We weren't sure if we should be doing it, should we not be doing this. And so, but it was manageable. So I wonder if we'll go back to something like that, to sort of a smaller.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you also had to do a lot of travel before. So
yeah,
what's that going to look like for you?
I miss travel. I miss planning travel. I don't know. That's certainly going to not be happening for a while, at least in my business. I mean, I don't think people are going to be.
Well, when do you feel comfortable getting back on a plane? Like, what will have to happen for you to get on a plane and do the job?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm getting my antibody test on Wednesday. I just made my appointment. So I think, and I know there's a lot of conflicting information about whether that means anything at all. But I am curious to know whether or not I've been exposed to it. And I think that once we get more, I mean, I'm sounding like Cuomo here, but hold on. Once we get more testing, I feel like maybe
do your Cuomo, do it. I want you to go full on Cuomo.
Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. I've been watching, but I feel like once we get some more testing and we have some more idea of like who's been exposed, it'll be a little bit more. I think it would be a little bit clearer as to where we can go. Like, can we? But it's going to be a minute before we can travel, and
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I was literally just looking online at RVs because we're supposed to take Sadie. She's supposed to be enrolled. I mean, she's enrolled, but I don't know if it's happening. She's supposed to go to like her first sleepaway camp with her bestie who moved to Oregon. It's on the West Coast. And I was going to do like a whole trip from like Oregon down to LA, seeing clients, seeing partners.
Oh,
and, I don't really want to subject us to an airplane.
Yeah.
But, if the camp is open and it's like secluded in the middle of nowhere in the beautiful Shasta Mountains, right? Like,
I just feel
Sadie. Like it's ideal, right? I know we should all go to summer camp with Sadie.
Would you mind if we all just joined?
It's like a hippie camp. It's like a hippie dippy summer camp. It's amazing sounding.
Sounds dreamy.
So I don't want her to lose. I don't want her to lose that opportunity. So I was like, maybe we'll just drive. Get an RV, rent it, and because then like I don't want to stay in a hotel.
That sounds like a plan, Rue. Do it.
Could be.
Report
Who knows? Back. But that's the thing is like, we have to start thinking creatively about how to move forward. And, whether like I've seen people do these like Instagram photographs from Zoom, I guess. I don't know what the technique has been, but some of them have looked really beautiful.
Right.
So we're all adapting to ways of creating. But have you been exploring your own creativity during this time? Your own terms?
It's so interesting. I think I don't have children, so I think that already immediately frees up a lot. Just speaking with you and my sister, that poses its a whole other sort of, ball of wax. But I feel like, there are days where you feel like, okay, I'm like, this is a clean slate. I'm going to start writing. I'm going to start doing some other things, which has been great. I've been doing that. And then there are days where you feel totally unproductive and you're sort of like, look at my life, look at my choices. What am I doing? Kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So, I am inspired by some of the people who are coming out of this or kind of doing things that are I don't know, unifying people or kind of uplifting, you know, like from the D-Nice thing back in the day, the dance parties, to like, you know, the New York Nico, you know, best New York accent, you know, sort of these like really creative things that are kind of bringing. So those things I find inspiring, and, you know, and I like
they're like no, they're nice. I mean, the D-Nice thing has been great. The New York accent thing, my husband's petitioning for them to do a Boston accent thing.
Oh my God, they should. It would be wicked awesome.
Yeah, it would be wicked awesome. But, you know, but those are great, and they lift your spirits.
Yes, people sort of getting creative. Yeah, in this sort of time. So, I mean, I find like it's going to be interesting. There's going to be a shift no matter what happens after. I wonder if we'll just all get amnesia and forget, you know, if we're able to, you know, once it gets warm here. But I think that there is going to be just a conscious, you know, shift for, you know, for people in terms of spatial awareness and sort of doing, you think back to like, you know, riding the subway and being, you know,
Right.
Which I miss. I miss riding the subway, actually, strangely.
Crazy. I still don't.
I know. It's just getting from like downtown to, you know, it's like it was so easy, you know?
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. So, I mean, in terms of your industry, and by the way, people who are joining in, this is Marguerite Wade, set designer, prop stylist, production designer, my old friend. And you're based in New York, and, you know, the cost of living in New York, as we all know, is incredibly high. And you're working, like you said before, you're working in an industry that is very much, you know, up and down. Some days you'll have, or some weeks you're busy, I never see you, and then sometimes it's a little bit more low key.
Right.
So the stability of that industry, I mean, I don't think you can use the word stable, right, for fashion and magazines or any of those industries. And whether we want them to or not, that's a different question. But are you starting to feel like that's something you would want coming out of this? Stability can mean like financial or just I mean, or like a more fundamental structure for how people in your
earn your living. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because I was saying to maybe to you yesterday, I don't even remember, but you sort of kind of go in New York, and if it's working, it's working, you know, whatever that means. You sort of go at your lightning pace, and, you know, now that I'm stopping, I sort of have this new awareness about, okay, you know, do I feel, you know, secure in my job, and is this something that you know, it's definitely making me think about changes I'd like to make. You know, I've always really enjoyed the freedom of my job. You know, sort of, it's a project, just for people who don't, it's project to project. So these projects tend to be maybe 1 or 2 weeks tops. They're really, they're really quick, unlike something like a film or something like that. So I've really always enjoyed the freedom, the travel, and all of that. But, you know, now that it's completely stopped, you're sort of like, yikes, you know, if the industry does change dramatically, you know, where does that leave me? And so I do think I'm kind of trying to think forward just for myself, you know, what would make me feel more comfortable. And also kind of like some of the changes I've always wanted to make, but have been like going. I haven't really taken the time to try and implement anything. So it's interesting. And I think this is going to be helpful for a lot of people if they're lucky. You know, obviously so many people are struggling. And so it's going to be interesting.
No, it is. And I think that as a, you know, like, for example, the art world, the visual art world, like there are actors and, you know, support systems in some way to create a more unified front for advocacy. And, you know, because visual artists have no security for the most part. And, you know, even galleries that support the visual artists have very little security. So I'm just wondering if for your industry, if there is anything similar, you know, are you guys advocating for each other? Or like, what if the magazines start saying, you know, in 2 months, well, we can't hire a stylist. We're just going to figure it out ourselves. You know, what does that mean?
A lot of magazines have done that. I mean, I think and the reason I've also moved more into commercial work is because there's always going to be there's always going to want to be a company who wants to sell something and wants to make it sort of beautiful and attractive and, buy this.
Yeah.
So I feel like on that level, there's always going to be a need for, creatives to come in and help you, unload your product. But like, magazines sort of, that's a funny thing because it's like that's sort of a dying industry anyway. In the sense
so you were already kind of counting them out. They weren't a big part of your equation.
No, not for me. I know for a lot of people. Okay. I mean, again, talking about like old school versus there are new magazines that are coming out that are doing really incredible creative, content. Funding wise, I'm not sure how that's happening in terms of advertising. It used to be you get advertisers and that would kind of pay for everything. So I'm not sure if that is still the model. And I also feel like nowadays a lot is moving online. So that changes that as well. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think commercially, yes, you'll always have to be able, there will always be a team pulled together to try and sell something. So how that changes is going to be interesting, Yeah. But
I don't know. I mean, it's true. Magazines are not, they're not the symbol of financial health, but they still do represent, people still want editorial and print, right? So like, I think for an old school person like me, it would mean a lot. And I know like if you're a movie star, you want to be on a cover of something and on an Annie Leibovitz cover. And presumably she, I'm sure her budgets have been slashed, but I know she used to cost a pretty penny.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So those days have changed a lot. Well, in our last 8 minutes, let's talk a little bit about how we're taking care of ourselves and things that we're looking forward to as we emerge out of this. Because, you're in the thick of New York City, you're in Manhattan. You've always been the person who like walks all over the city. You're just the most active. How have you been dealing with it?
Well, it's interesting. I feel like, as we creep closer to the warmer weather, you see more people sort of coming out of the woodwork. When this first started, it was like a ghost town around here. Have you ever walked over the Brooklyn Bridge and there's been nobody else on it? I mean, I literally did that. There was one other person walking, which is pretty...
You're like, hi!
Yeah, no, I was like, get away! No, just kidding.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But... yeah, I think things are coming back to life a little bit. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. There are a lot more people out. There are a lot more people walking. So I'm just as curious as the next person about where this is going to go. Like in May into June, it's warm here. The flowers are out. It's just like we all live in apartments. Most of us live in apartments, and we're going to want to break free. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens. And I was at the park yesterday with my niece, and there were a lot of people there. So, masked up and social distancing, but there were still quite a few people.
Well, I read that the article this morning about de Blasio chiding the Hasidic community for the large funeral that took place yesterday, and then the Hasids in return were saying, well, everyone was lined up watching those the planes, that cool plane show. No matter what, people are just struggling to like get outdoors and spend some time and have some normalcy. But it's got to be hard because people like you have been so active, and I guess you're walking the bridge, which is great. You're able to.
Yeah, I'm walking. I'm walking, baby. Yeah, it's tough. It feels like someone had a great analogy of almost like a water valve. Like it's going to open at some point, and people are really gonna kind of. Everyone's been pretty good about sort of staying home. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when a little bit more time passes. And I don't know, Rue. It's just been crazy times. It is
crazy times.
I'm lucky because I know we all have older parents and. I feel fortunate that they're okay and all that.
Absolutely. My dear friend Sarah Raza asks, have you explored some of the online virtual set designs such as Oracle?
I know a little bit about it, but like I am not savvy, as you can tell from my non-story having ever done. I'm not quite as online savvy as I should be, but Yeah, I've seen it, but I haven't really explored it at all. I mean, do you know?
So what is that? I don't know. Can you tell us what it is?
I mean, I've seen like mock-ups through Oracle. I don't know exactly what,
Okay. So is
it maybe your friend knows actually a little bit more about it. Is it a program in which you can more easily mock up sets?
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, it reminds me, and I was talking about this with Erin from the New Museum, because we were talking about some of the vendors, because she does special events at the New Museum, and I asked how her vendors were doing, and she said, that like florists were getting creative, and that the florist who's very, very big on Instagram, she's more like a floral artist, Birch, BRRCH, she's sending people virtual bouquets. So if you like pay $5, then and send her a shot of your space, she'll put a beautiful one of her beautiful bouquets in there. And apparently the waiting list is very, very long. So,
really, that's so interesting.
Yeah, it is really interesting. They're a little pixelated, right? Like they're not like the real thing, but it's like a nice little gift to get in your inbox or
that's
whatever.
That's so innovative. I feel like for I know Birch and their work. Such an interesting idea for people who work in flowers to kind of take it there. I think of it as something that's so visceral, so like hands-on, and that's an interesting.
Well, that's the thing is for a florist who's always like cutting stems and ripping leaves off, now you're like in a computer program putting it together, and it's a different mindset. But for those who can kind of like bridge both, I think this is a really probably, I assume, a very productive time, because you're able to like switch back and forth between the tactile and the virtual.
Yeah.
But not everyone is good at that, and like even me learning how to edit video, I'm okay, but I don't want to spend all my time doing it.
Yeah, it's tough when you're making that transition. And I think it's also a conscious choice. Like I've been like, I like to do it this way. But I just saw from I think a friend of yours who was talking about Oracle, about her students designing their exhibitions. I mean, that's where we're moving. And I definitely feel like it's something that I feel like in my industry, like more people are exploring and younger designers are exploring it. So, I mean, it's sort of, it's interesting, the shifts, the continual shifts. Like this is
well, do you also feel like this is in our last couple minutes, do you feel like this is a good time for young, like as we were talking earlier, for young stylists or people who, were trying to break into the industry and maybe didn't have the internship or the apprenticeship, but now they're just at home figuring this out online? Do you think that clients would be open to seeing these kinds of experimental works?
I mean, I think so. I think that they offer, doing that kind of work offers certain elements that I think that they need nowadays, with sort of more virtual showcasing, even like kind of hawking your goods on Instagram or online. I feel like that skill set is really useful. I do think that it's important to have hands-on experience always. I mean, I sound a little dusty, but I do think that there is sometimes when you work with people who are really like super efficient in this one particular area, there is sort of like a real-time slowdown. I don't know the best way to describe it.
No, I've seen that. I've seen that on photo shoots where, you like the stylist doesn't really quite know where to go with it, or doesn't have the experience, right?
Yeah.
Because there's so many tricks of the trade that you guys have.
Yeah, it's also just like working with something, in such a three-dimensional way. It's just sort of. Yes,
that's true.
Yeah. So translating that. Yeah, I think that you're going to have to, it's going to shift. It's going to go sort of like this, you're going to have both skill sets. Yeah. And I think it's I think it's exciting for young artists to kind of jump in. Yeah. When the industry is changing so much.
It's changing so much. I mean, like when I was first learning to video edit, I was like, I think I need my 10-year-old daughter to do this for me. I think she would actually be better.
Yeah.
I mean, she would have put in like, some weird explosions and whatever in the middle of her talk for like stars.
Fun.
But It could be fun. And that's the thing is like, I didn't end up because she has to do school, but it really crossed my mind that she might be better at this than I am.
Oh, completely. I mean, I have a couple of younger assistants who I really am like, hey, I need to do a really quick virtual mock-up of X, Y, and Z. I mean, it's not in my skill set whatsoever. I mean, it probably should be, but it's just not something that, and it's like, would take me forever. It would probably take this person so little time. So, Sadie, I'm calling you. I'm calling Sadie.
I know, I'll call everyone. Hire my daughter. I don't know what
everyone
else.
Hire Sadie. That's what
Sadie for hire.
That was my takeaway.
Sadie for hire. Well, maybe we can put her to work. Should be fun. Better than school, probably.
Oh, yeah, God.
Well, thank you, Marguerite Wade.
Thank you, Ingrid Chen, for chatting.
Yeah, you're the best. I congratulate you on your first IG Live.
Oh my gosh,
you did it. That was 30 minutes.
All right. Thanks.
No, and you look dewy and great. You don't even look sweaty.
Oh, Rue. Only with you, Rue. Well, thank you for pulling these together. It's been really so fun to watch everybody. Just chat for 30 minutes.
Welcome. They're the highlight of my day. I thank everyone for watching. And we had some high school friends on here like Andy and Leah. So you guys were the best. And so I'm doing this every day. This will be out for 24 hours on my stories and then archived. And tomorrow I'm talking to the first lawyer at Etsy. And so she'll be on at 9:30, Sarah Feingold.
So many different kinds of people. It's so exciting. Interesting.
It's, and it's all creative. It's all just trying to create a community of creative people that I think have always been working adjacently. And now, there have already been people who've been speaking on this and then have connected with each other.
Oh, that's so great.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Rue.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon, Rita.
Everyone.
Bye.